Welcome to Pray Tell. My name is Tyler Evans.
And I'm Trevor Smale. Tyler and I attend St. Matthew's Anglican Church here in Abbotsford, and we like to occasionally sit down, discuss topics of interest to us within church, and sip some cold drinks together, and just generally talk about the Anglican tradition.
And the point of the podcast is generally just to be able to get together and talk about interesting things. And we like to do that for people who are maybe new to Anglicanism, new to being a Christian, people who have been Anglicans for a long time, people who are just exploring different denominations or different perspectives on Christian faith or religion or faith period. So that's what we like to do here. We are very excited today because we have a chance to introduce the new priest at St. Matthew's, Father James Hwang. James, thank you for joining us here. It's a pleasure to have you. Father James has started at St. Matthew's as of May 1st, and we're looking forward to him starting his ministry here and in Abbotsford and at St. Matthew's.
Yeah, and Tyler, it's been a bit of a journey in the last year or over a year now, hasn't it?
I suppose it was February of 2023 that our former priest left to go on to another ministry. And it was at that point that we started the process of, or St. Matthew started the process of putting together its parish profile and figuring out who we are as a parish, so that we could then go out and find candidates who could fill in the role of a new rector, a new priest. And so it took us over a year to go through the process of preparing that parish profile for ourselves, sending it out, having it approved, and then interviewing candidates. And we're very pleased with how the result of that interview process went.
Yeah, and so we wanted to have you here today, James, just so everyone can have a chance to get to know you a little bit in anticipation of your first Sunday in May, and then your ordination service and
induction.
Induction. Thank
service,
you.
yeah.
Sorry, induction service coming on May 7th. So we're really happy to have you, as Tyler said, and just welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here. I've known you've been doing podcast, and now I'm here. So let's talk about me or St. Matthew today.
So before we do that, we have some beverages today that we're going to enjoy together. This is normally we have some beer that we use, but today we're going to try some Kombucha, which is brewed by Old Yale Brewing here in Abbotsford and Chilliwack. We've had some of their beer before, and now we're going to try out their kombucha. I have an organic strawberry basil flavor, which sounds interesting. I think that's what you have too, James.
I have the same.
And Trevor,
I have organic blueberry ginger.
Oh my, let's crack them then.
That's actually quite good.
Delightful. Not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it'd be thicker. I don't know what I thought, what I was expecting.
Yeah. So James, why don't you start off here just telling us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, maybe what has got you to this point here at St. Matthew's?
Okay. First of all, I'm originally from Korea. I was born in Seoul. I was raised up in Seoul. And as you know, Seoul is quite a big city with a population of maybe 10 million. Although I haven't done much like urban activities like going to museum or theater. I'm more like homebody, but like I'm still familiar with busy, crowded, metropolitan vibe.
Did you spend most of your adult life in Seoul or in Korea? Have you
Mostly
moved
in
around?
Seoul.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I never left Seoul. The only time I left Seoul was after I graduated university. I joined a Franciscan order in Korea. And during those time, they had different communities in other province. So that was the only time I was living in other province. But other than that, I was living in Seoul most of the time. And still my family members, I have one younger brother who is married. And my parents, they're all living in Seoul.
What did you study in university?
I majored chemistry. I mean, the only reason I chose chemistry was that was my favorite subject. And, like it's natural science, but it can be a threshold to many other fields. So that was the reason I chose chemistry.
Was it right at the end of your university, like you're studying, that you joined this Franciscan order, or during?
So I was born in a Roman Catholic family.
Okay.
So I didn't do much church. Like I didn't go to Sunday school, but I always attended mass on Sunday with my mom and with my younger brother. So throughout that upbringing, I had a kind of like sense of like being a good Christian. And when I entered university, so I had a chance to volunteer at a soup kitchen. And I didn't know like who was running the soup kitchen, but it turned out it was run by Franciscans. And although born Catholic, I didn't even know there's like male religious. I only thought there's priests or nuns.
Oh, okay.
So that was first time. And I really enjoyed. I went there once a week. I got to know people. Most of them are people on the street. But like everybody had like all different stories, very easy to talk to. And then I got to know Franciscans and I got to know the life of St. Francis. And it was very inspiring for me, eye-opening experience for me. And mostly I was very animated by poverty and freedom. Among the things that St. Francis revealed, like poverty and freedom, stood out to me. He really didn't need anything because he had total trust in God. And he didn't leave anything for himself because he cared about other people more than himself. So he lived poor, but he was rich in spirit. So that was quite fascinating. And so I began to think about being a Franciscan. I had to finish army service, which is mandatory for all Korean men. So it took another 2 years. And after I graduated university, I joined the order.
And joining the order, does that mean like it's an order within the Roman Catholic Church?
Yes.
And so joining the order, is that the beginning, middle, or end of the process of being ordained?
It's a dual track.
Okay.
So among the Franciscans, some of them are Franciscans, but at the same time, they are going to be priests. But some of them, they're Franciscans, but they live as a lay brother.
Right.
Okay.
So in my case, I chose to be a priest. So I was going through formation, like education and training period to be a Franciscan. But as a dual track, I was going to seminary to be qualified for the ordination. So altogether, it takes 7 years to take the final vow, to be finalized as an official member. It takes 7 years
of the Franciscan order.
Of the Franciscan order, and because we had to take years off just to focus on Franciscan training. So there's years when I didn't go to seminary, so it took longer.
Right.
So after I started, it took 9 years to be ordained. So
9 years to be ordained. Okay.
I've been going to school long time.
Yeah.
I spent most of my years at school.
Yeah.
And all that schooling was in Seoul as well?
Yes and no. So after I took my final vows, after 7 years, I was sent to the States. And by that time, I still had some remaining theology courses to finish. So I did that in D.C. at the Washington Theological Union.
Okay.
I went there to graduate school for 2 years. And then after that, I went to Chicago. So I got into master's degree program in pastoral counseling. So I did that at Loyola Chicago for 3 years. But I was given 1 extra year to do more internships. So I went to Claremont, California, to do internship at a pastoral counseling center. I think it was Claremont School of Theology. It belonged to that theology school.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then I went back to Korea. And
So you said that you were sent to for more training?
It's a mutual. I mean, they offered.
Right. But who is they? Who's the
So it's older. So there are people who are in administration. We call provincial minister.
Mm-hmm.
So he's ministering to all the friars. It's not hierarchical concept.
Okay.
It's more egalitarian because that's the life of St. Francis.
Right.
So the chief, the head of the community was there to protect the community member and to serve the community member, because St. Francis was so, he wanted to live the gospel like literally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Jesus did. He washed the foot of the disciples. So even the term, like in a small community, we have a term like guardian.
Mm-hmm.
Guardian of the community is the one who kind of serves for the community members. But so it was decided by provincial minister and council members and the chairperson of formation committee. They have a meeting, and then every year they send some friars for further study. And I was offered that opportunity. And I always wanted to learn more about how our mind works.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I knew the program in Chicago. It's a pastoral counseling. So it's not only based on like pure psychology, but it's more integrated approach to understand human mind in a more holistic way. So, and which was true when I went into the program. It was what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed the program there.
So that kind of covers some of the early training you had. And in the States. How did you end up in Vancouver? And then now, how did that lead to Abbotsford, or how did you get to Canada from all of that?
Because I don't know. Maybe we didn't cover this in the interview. We're not a Catholic church.
No.
So whoops.
So
but how did we get there?
I have to maybe break it down. So I went back to Korea and I spent time. I was working at the formation house as a director, but things were not the same. I mean, I've been in the order for almost 20 years, but my life experience kind of formed me in a way that I began to think about like my own authentic self and my life more than ever. It's almost like I felt like I've outgrown the box that I was living in, and maybe also I was kind of getting close to mid-40, maybe midlife crisis. I thought about I was in the middle of my life, so I was looking back and looking forward, and I just realized that this conventional religious lifestyle doesn't speak to me much. Although I had no regret of joining the order, but when I look forward, I wanted something different. So I decided to take a new path. taking a leap of faith. At that time, I was quite even dramatic, so I decided to leave the order first. I didn't want to check out everything and then just make sure before I jump, like just checking everything is solid. I didn't want that, so I decided to leave the order, and I came to Canada. But I was planning to come to Canada, and around that time, I talked with my family, friends, close friars, just hoping that through those conversations, something will emerge. But I kind of like began to listen to my heart, and I made that decision of leaving the order. But one of my ex-classmates who started the religious life together with me and who left in the middle, and he became an Anglican priest in Korea. So he knew me very well, and he recommended me, how about trying out to be an Anglican? And back then, I had no idea what the Anglican Church would be like. But hearing from someone who knew me well, like I thought, oh, if you see something in me that will kind of resonate with Anglican Church, maybe I can try. So I came to Canada 2022, but I came with a student visa. I came as a student because I needed a legal status to stay while I'm exploring any possibilities. I was going to New York Institute of Technology in Vancouver, majoring energy management.
Okay.
Not that I wanted to be an energy manager, but like
what is an energy manager?
I don't even know.
Sounds amazing.
It was quite a struggle. I took only one semester, but like I graduated university like majoring chemistry in like it was early 2000, and it's been 20 something years. And then going back to thermodynamics and things like that drove me crazy at first. So I was going to school and I was teaching because I was able to work as part-time. I was teaching at a local pottery studio because I've been doing pottery over 10 years. And I taught in Korea before, and the owner offered me a part-time job. So I was teaching wheel throwing. And I got in touch with the people at St. James Anglican Parish Church in East Side, Vancouver. So that was my first contact, and I was so blessed with a wonderful priest and people at St. James who really welcomed me and guided me to like one step after another. So by the end of 2022, the bishop and the executive archdeacon at that time, like Father Douglas Fenton, they said, yeah, we think you are ready to be received to Anglican Church. And that's not what I was thinking.
Right.
But when they say something, maybe I'm ready. And actually, I thought like I will be never ready, you know?
Right. Yeah.
You learn by doing it.
If you had waited until you felt that you were ready,
I mean, it will never happen.
then it just won't happen because that's not how it works all the time.
True. So I was received to Anglican Church. So between Anglican Church, Lutheran Church, Catholic Church, they recognize the baptism, confirmation, and ordination.
Okay.
So I didn't have to go through extra training. December, I began to work at St. John Shaughnessy as a curate. So I didn't choose St. John, but Father Douglas thought that would be a good place to learn. So the curacy is kind of like supervised internship period. I work as an assistant priest.
Yeah.
but I work under the supervision of the rector. So I applied for work permit, and until work permit is out, I just maintain the student permit, transferring from this energy management school to Vancouver School of Theology. So I took some classes related to Anglicanism, and that was really good. I met some students, Professor Father James. It was really great. Bit by bit, I got to know people. I attended all the diocesan meetings. So with work permit out, I began to work as a full-time.
Like a full-time curate? Still
yes.
in the curacy role.
Yes.
But full-time as
full-time.
in now
And I
working
was so happy that I didn't have to go to school anymore.
Yeah.
Finally, it was over.
So you had mentioned that you had to take vows when you joined, and it sounds like you mentioned there's final vows, so I assume there's like preliminary vows that are taken.
They're temporary vows.
Temporary vows. Thank you. So then when you want to leave the order, is that a very dramatic event? In the sense that you've made these vows and now you're breaking the vows? Or
it's yes and no. Yes, in a way, there are a lot of like documents that I had to fill out.
Right.
Because it's, like Roman Catholic Church is it's very hierarchical. Everything come down from the Vatican.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a record of me in Vatican.
Right.
So they had to correct the record, so-called nullify, like this ordination is not valid anymore. I mean,
right.
Yes.
To do that, they had to write a letter to the Vatican and wait until the response come in. And it's easier for nullify the vow as a friar, but it's a little more complicated to nullify the ordination.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. And it kind of sounds like it's mostly just administratively difficult.
It is. And I said yes and no. No, because a lot of people leave.
Right.
I mean, it's not just set in, it's not a prison. Like and I think each one's path is I mean, maybe let's say in the past, maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago, like for old school, it's almost like, once you are a priest, you should never leave. And for the ones who left the priesthood or their religious life, they really carried a lot of shame and guilt, like they failed the covenant with God, that type of mindset. But these days, it's quite different. Actually, like let's say if 10 people start together, at the end, only maybe 2 to 4 people remain. So only 1/3 remain, and 2/3 they leave religious life along the way. It's just like personal path. It's not end of vocation, but each one's vocation just continues. That's how I see it.
So James, you were part of this Franciscan order for a long time. Can you talk about its history, where it comes from, what makes it kind of distinct within the Catholic Church as an order? I think there's a lot of threads to pull there. So what do you got to say about that?
Yeah, to make the long story short, this order was founded by Saint Francis in 13th century, around that time, in Assisi in Italy.
Okay.
So he was a son of a very rich merchant. He kind of encountered the Jesus through his spiritual experience. And he wanted to live his life with the dedication to what Jesus told disciples to do. So literally, from a son of rich merchant, he disowned everything he had, and then he became a beggar, and he became a preacher. So around that time, like people say, like when people think about Catholic or any type of religious life, they think about monk. Monk was more, around that until Francis came out, maybe Saint Dominic too, around the same time, until these preachers who is living more itinerary style of life, like just wandering around. Until then, monk was the only type of religious life. So they stayed in one place. They worked and prayed where they lived, and they never left the monastery. But to the contrary, these friars, since they didn't own anything, they had to live on almsgiving, like a beggar, and they also traveled around to preach. So all they could rely on was each other and God. So that was very radical way of lifestyle. But over the time, it has kind of changed a bit. Nowadays, it's an international order, so there are Franciscan friars all around the world. But their lifestyle, it's not like we're still living that strict lifestyle. We have house. They have house. They own things, but like we use what we need, but we don't own anything. So when we don't need it, we can just, or if we find someone who need something more than we do, we give it to the person. That's the kind of ideal of Franciscan life, although the reality may be somewhat different, because we're living in a society. So yeah. So it's not mainly focused on certain type of ministry, like for example, Salesians. Their main ministry is taking care of youth. So there's certain religious group that only focuses on like helping the poor or helping the youth. But Franciscan, because our goal is living the gospel, so we just go with the flow. Like in the neighborhood, if there's some needs, we attend to the need. So we happen to have many different type of ministry. We had a spiritual center, we had a leprosarium in Korea, we had soup kitchen, retreat house, all different kind of things. But I've worked at a parish one time after I came back from the States. I worked at a parish as an assistant pastor, and then I was working as a director for the formation students.
You said a word. You said Salesians.
Yeah, Salesians.
Is it like another order?
It's another order.
Oh,
there
okay.
are many different orders.
Many different orders.
Yes. So what happens is, like when there's someone who really embodies the calling of God, at that time, people gather around the person because they're influencing other people with the vision. So people who are drawn into that vision follow them. So they form a group, and then once they form a group, they structure themselves to train the new ones. So that's the beginning of like religious order.
Right.
So there's always founder. It's founded by the person or the group of like initial period. Then it kind of it evolves. And so Franciscan, actually Francis didn't want to name the order, the group Franciscan.
Right. That would be a little against his vibe.
Yes, exactly. So the official name for the order is the Order of friars minor.
Right.
There's always relative term. Like we are always minor to anybody. So you lower yourself.
Wow.
Yes, that was the official. That is still official.
Right.
Title.
But it's a little catchier to.
Franciscan. Yes. Yes. Yeah. True. Yeah.
I think for probably the majority of people, the most well-known Franciscan they might know about would be the Pope. He's a
Jesuit.
He was a
Jesuit. He belonged to different order.
Oh, okay.
Jesuit was founded by Saint Ignatius.
Right. Okay.
But he took the name Francis.
Right. Okay. That's
because
maybe what it was.
He thought the spirituality of Saint Francis would be the one most needed for the modern society.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And which, just to bring back to Anglicanism, I find as I didn't know much about Anglican Church until I joined the Anglican Church. But like the more I explore the Anglicanism, I find it very similar to Franciscan spirituality. I find it speaking to the modern world, just because, first of all, maybe I may be wrong, but like Anglicanism has evolved in a kind of dialectic way.
Mm-hmm.
Like it evolved through the tension between like traditions and new creation, and maybe also it always recognized human reality, but it still holds on to the Christian vision, ideal vision, and it cares about common good, but at the same time it never ignores individual uniqueness. So all of that is how Franciscan spirituality has evolved too. Like we try to hold that tension.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is Saint Francis was always drawn into God coming to us. So it's more drawn into incarnation rather than resurrection or maybe some other thing. I mean, it's all weaved together as a one thread, but he was so fascinated by God becoming one of us. So if the crash, the Christmas, around Christmas, crash was originated by Saint Francis. He was the first one who wanted to see the baby Jesus. So he made the crash himself. Before that, there's no such a tradition.
There was no record of people making tiny dolls to depict.
Yeah. So it's just to see the bodily presence of Lord among us.
Right.
And I see that in Anglicanism too. I mean, it's in Anglican Church, we try to find God's beauty and God's goodness in created world. It's not just moving away from the world, but like finding God in the world. So I find it quite at home, and it's not. I can see personally, I see the connection between my time as a friar and my time as an Anglican priest.
It's not a big shift, right?
Exactly,
You're not walking down this road and then all of a sudden, opposite direction.
Yes,
it's generally the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that your background in that order will kind of shape or influence your being at St. Matthew's? Because this is your first time being an Anglican priest at a parish.
Mm-hmm.
You've done the curacy, and it's not that you're completely unfamiliar with it, but how do you think they'll kind of match up practically, like on the ground? Or do you have an idea of what that's going to look like yet?
So I have to say, when I was applying to St. Matthew, I had to apply to a new position because my curacy is going to end in June. So technically, I had to find a new position.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of this year, St. Matthew put out parish profile. So I applied. I'm very grateful because I couldn't have found any better parish. Although this is just, it happened. It happened to be first parish.
Right.
So I applied and thankfully I got in. But I couldn't find a better parish in many different reasons. First of all, as I get to know the parish by studying the profile and by meeting the people through the interview, it was fascinating. I know like the parish has been through some painful history, but like the remaining people, they not just managed to continue to exist, but like it's almost like they're very dedicated and they're very passionate about the parish life. So, and even without a full-time rector, someone who is kind of doing cheerleading or supporting from the behind the scene, it's your work that you managed to grow, and not just that, reaching out to the local community and trying out some creative things like this podcast, and considering the history and the size of parish, there's great work done. I was very impressed by that. If I tie that to my Franciscan vocation, my time as a Franciscan, that's our kind of spirituality. We don't run project, but we always stick together.
Right.
And then our outreach ministry is kind of expansion of like what we live within the community. So I could see that kind of strong bond within community, but not just stay there, but like reaching out to the local community. It was already said at St. Matthew. So I was able to resonate with that. And then the second thing is, a lot of parish church, the reality is they're struggling, and they're really concerned about the future. So they try to manage the problem, prepared for some Christian community. The way they see the future is like, oh, how do we survive or how do we maintain?
Right.
But when I was reading the profile, there's so many things on the list that what you want to be. Like you want to do this, you want to do that. Within the parish community, within the local community, it was full of zeal and hope. And I shared this with you at the interview, but like you were ready to move forward towards future, which was also very Franciscan. He was always optimistic, even in the most difficult time, because Francis knew God is the true owner of his order. So even when the order was like really drafting very far away from the ideal, he never gave up on that. He was always hopeful because he knew it is God who will take care of the community. So I kind of was able to resonate with that too. And the third thing was the people's engagement. I know some parish, whether Anglican or Catholic, some parish, whatever, they're quite passive. They they don't want to invest their time and energy too much to the parish life. They want to get something, so they just look up to the priest, and then they just become a receiver or bystander. Or on the other hand, some people try to claim their power. I mean, this is our parish, so just that type of power struggle or power game kind of burns out all the energy. Like,
Yeah, creates a lot of heat,
yes,
but without much light.
yes. But when I talk with people at St. Matthew, I really like the idea of like working together. Yeah. There's a sense of trust and respect. And you're not just saying, oh yeah, we want to work together with the priest, but it was kind of genuinely delivered in the attitude and the way you talked to me, and the conversation was very delightful, although it was interview.
Yeah.
And that's also very Franciscan. I mean, it's not mechanical way of like, okay, this is your job, or I have more responsibility, but you have less power. It never works in that way. It's not hierarchical. There is differentiation in role, but it's very organically intertwined. So I need you and you need me.
Yeah. So
without you or without me, I mean, we are not the same. So we work together, and I really like that idea. And I don't know. I mean, it's idea, but we'll have to work together to make that happen. But since we share a lot of vision, when I was applying, I felt like, yeah, I mean, I'm so happy that I saw something in you, and probably you saw something in me. So there's something that we connected, and I'm so glad that this is happening to us, and I'm looking forward more.
So now that you are kind of getting established in Abbotsford and getting started, and there's going to be a lot, to learn and figure out. But one of the things that stuck out to me when we were first meeting you is you talked about some of these initiatives you've undertaken. I forget what it was, but was it at St. John, Shaughnessy, where you had started you had a small group of people from the parish that were doing visits to, what's the name of the
St. Jude Anglican Home?
Yes. Yes. So, but you had mentioned how you didn't just kind of push people into that right away. You took some time to kind of figure out, who would be into this and who has kind of the strengths and things to match up with this kind of thing. So I guess my question is, what are some of the things maybe that you are looking forward to as you learn more about us? Some ways that you can help people at St. Matthew maybe engage more in our community. And you're new to Abbotsford as well, so you're going to be learning about what are the big needs here as well. But are there things that maybe you see that are already in place, or things that you would hopefully like to help grow?
I mean, I think you've already mentioned in the profile, like what you need and what you want to have more, your desires, like what you want to grow. Like within the community, I would like to see children learning and being themselves and knowing God and building their own community as friends. I want to see that more. And I know there has been, like Bonnie, who's been dedicated, and not just Bonnie, but some other people dedicated to children ministry. But I want to support them, and also I want to invite other people so that we can do more for our children. And I want to also provide some spiritual enrichment program for just anybody in the parish or outside the parish who wants to explore the meaning of life, meaning of faith, things like that. I'm willing to provide material that I have or invite other people outside the community so that there will be like ongoing exploration and experience of like our spiritual life. And of course, we need internal ministry, someone who has talent, who is willing to share their gift to make the parish run. But later on, more or maybe at the same time, I want our liturgy to be a real celebration of our joy and our gratitude. Like I said, being rooted in tradition, but like reaching out to kind of modern the things happening in the world. So being more open, being flexible to new things, but still structured in a traditional way. I want to work on that together with people who can bring the talent to that ministry. But here's the thing. When I went to St. Jude, I volunteered myself at St. Jude first because I wanted to know what it feels like and what the experience is like. So probably once I feel more settled, that's what I want to do. I want to explore what needs are out there in the local community. I know like homelessness is a big problem in Abbotsford. I know there's a prison in the neighborhood. So it's not just like we're okay and everything is okay, but like if we're not okay until the others are okay too. And I would love to explore that with people who has interest. But I don't. So it's not a micromanaging, but like I want to be there with them. It's not like assigning people to do something, but I want to be part of that and as much as I can. I think as I get to know people, as we build relationship, it will kind of like naturally emerge. So you have the vision, you have the list of the things or the image of the parish you want to be. And I have that too. But like the way we approach to that vision will be done in a more spirit guided way, I believe. Yeah.
I mean, I suppose the problem is that, or the problem's not the right word, but the search committee put together the parish profile with the input from the parish. And the parish profile is our best guess in the best form we can have it as to where the parish wants to go and what it wants to do and who St. Matthew's is, how it and where it wants to be in the future. But your relationship with the parish as a whole, with the leadership council of the parish and the leadership team, but then also with individual parishioners, is really going to be what counts and how that actually materializes. Because without the people to do the ministry, whatever those are, you can have all the best plans in the world until it turns out that actually that's not really what we want to do or where we want to go. And you learn that through like whether people volunteer or how they like to volunteer or whatever the case is. So
you're right. We have vision, we have plan, but like we don't know how and when it's going to happen. And I think that's the space left for God's providence. I mean, like, it's not our project, but God is working with us, working for us. But I have to say this. St. Matthew, the profile was not just a list of things you like, oh, I want this, I want that.
No.
It was not like that. It was very well, I could feel you really took it very serious with a prayerful mind. And that was the result of over a long time. It didn't come out just kind of
in
a day or two.
I think it is. I think the parish profile did accurately, faithfully present what that was.
My point is, you have a lot more than probably you think.
Good.
Yeah,
yes.
It all begins with, I think, visioning, dreaming.
Yeah.
Like wanting.
Yeah.
Like you have to want.
Yes.
To get there.
Yeah.
It just doesn't fall like an accident.
No.
But once you have the vision, then God will provide. And maybe this is the beginning, the first step of that new journey together.
James, you mentioned earlier that one of your hobbies is potting.
Mm-hmm. Pottery. Yeah.
What is that like? What does that mean for you? It's a big part of your life. It's kind of your main thing that you do, other than outside of work, I suppose.
It's my another passion. Where my another passion goes. When I started pottery, I started at a local college. They had an open class. So
in Seoul.
No, in Maryland.
In Maryland, okay.
So I started when I was in I had a little more freedom to do what I wanted to do.
Okay.
So I started there and I just fell in love. And I didn't go to art school. I just took 2 semesters of classes. But since then, wherever I went, I found a studio where I could do the pottery work, and I kind of self-taught, watching YouTube, and when there's chance, I took more classes. So now it's my kind of spiritual practice too. I feel very centered, grounded, creative, and humbled too, because you don't have a full control. It's not just about not having full control when you make something, but each process, drying, trimming, glazing, firing, whenever you go through one extra step, there's something unexpected happens. Sometimes it's a happy accident. Sometimes you put a lot of time, but the result is not what you were expecting. So it's very helps me to learn how to be patient, how to let things go, detached. So it's been really great, and it's a great way of connecting with people. I make things I usually give away as gift on special occasions. And I've done some hand building workshop at the previous parish. So hopefully I will have more of that at St. Matthew too. So.
What's your favorite thing to make?
I love making teapots.
Teapots,
yeah,
okay.
Teapots. It's you create different parts, but you have to think about the proportion and the overall shape when things kind of come together, and it's functional too. So
of course,
it's something you can use, something you can just look at it. Yeah. So I love making teapots. It takes more time, but I make many other things too. Let me know if you need something.
When we first moved here, I found my wife likes to do pottery, and she did it in high school. And she found a place here in Abbotsford. It was either in Abbotsford or in Yarrow, a place where they did like pottery classes. And I think the guy she did it with, his name was Harold Venema.
I've heard of this guy.
I think he's retired
Yeah,
now.
he's quite well known in the valley, I think.
You know what? Is it a retired person like recently?
I think so.
Yes.
So he's the ladies who were working with him or like learning from him, when he retired, they got all the like kiln or wheels, everything.
Yeah.
So I was looking for a pottery studio already, and I found one. There's nothing in downtown.
No.
Only personal studio or studio where you do painting, not throwing.
Oh, okay.
But there's one studio in the farm area.
Yes.
So these ladies turned. She owns a farm, so she turned a barn into studio.
Yes.
And they got all the material from the person.
Harold Venema.
Yeah.
She made me a mug when she was with him, and it's my favorite mug. And
It's
I just love that mug so much.
Yeah.
The place that does the painting, I think, is called the Clay Cottage.
Right.
My kids love going to the Clay Cottage.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
Because it's all kids go in, you pick your thing, and I have another mug that's very well painted by Ruby. But yeah, there's a scene for that here in Abbotsford. That's for sure.
I feel like just about every new place like that we go, if it's on vacation or new town, my wife wants to, what's like the local studio that I can go buy like a new coffee mug or something. So we have a lot of growing collection of those. Yeah.
What else do you like to do?
I do like playing sports game. I'm particularly racket sports. Squash is my favorite.
Okay.
I used to play squash a lot.
Yeah.
I'm quite good at badminton.
Okay.
Maybe that would be my second favorite.
Nice.
I played tennis before. Not as good as badminton or squash, but I've never played pickleball.
Okay, so there
That's
is a
big.
bit of a raucous scene
Yeah.
in Abbotsford for pickleball. Like
Okay.
it is thriving
So yeah,
community.
And controversial.
If I have any chance, I would love to try that out.
You
it'd
should.
be nice. Yes.
And I during the spring, so the place where I work, where I park, I walk right by the pickleball court. It's in downtown, near downtown Abbotsford. And whenever the sun is out, I'll see like a couple people like starting to like
I'll see a lot.
congregate, and then by noon, it's just it's very loud, tap 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 tap. But it's a busy scene, so there'll be lots of opportunity for that, I'm sure.
I'm glad to hear that. And I do play the guitar. I'm not really good, but I'm good enough to use it as kind of play and sing.
Okay.
So I've done Teze prayer service at the parish.
Nice.
I mean, of course, there's other musical instruments, but so I play, and that's another thing I do once in a. I mean, as a hobby, and I do cooking. I do cook, and all these things I learned as a friar because we were self-sufficient in a way.
Right.
Like we had to learn to cook and serve the liturgy by playing musical instrument. So I learned during those time. So I do love cooking. So if there's anyone who would like to taste some Korean homemade food, I mean, you're welcome to my table.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So on that topic of food, do you have any favorites?
In general, I'm not that picky when it comes to food. When I eat out, my favorite cuisine or restaurant would be diner. I love diner. I love local vibe. And I found one here. I think that's going to be my favorite. Anne and Mary.
Anne Marie's.
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yes.
Did you go there for breakfast?
Oh yes. Breakfast for lunch.
Yes, naturally.
It was really good. and I have sweet tooth, so I'm into I love pie, I love any other pastry, chocolate, or all together, or ice cream. Yeah. Although I'm single man, but still I buy those kind of things for myself.
Yeah.
Sure.
As you should.
Yeah, as I would.
Yeah.
The pastry portal
Oh, is it good?
downtown.
Oh, okay.
It's just down the road from Anne Marie's.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
Nice.
I'll have to
You'll find them.
ask people or learn about that, because it seems like the old restaurants and shops are kind of scattered. So it's not like
Yes.
there's no main street where you find all these places kind of stuck together.
If you go to downtown Abbotsford, you're pretty reliably going to find like a good spot for like a restaurant or a
Okay.
coffee place or whatever it is. But they are kind of scattered around Abbotsford.
But there are some, like you were saying, a handful right in that downtown that are nice and have good reputations and good coffee, good baked goods.
Yeah.
I would love to explore that.
Yeah.
Oh, I do coffee too. I'm a coffee lover too.
Oh, then you're in good company.
Yeah, that's right. So when we introduced you, I introduced you as Father James, and we've been just referring to you as James during most of the podcast. But there's other titles for priests. There's Reverend, Father. There's a variety. Do you have a preference or a way that you want to be addressed while you're a priest at St. Matthew's, or what do you think about that?
That's a very good question, because there's so many different titles used in the diocese. And personally, I have no problem. I feel very comfortable with just James without title. But just I've noticed that in the diocese, in an official setting, a lot of people are called with the title like father or mother. But I've encountered some other people who call me with the title reverend. So I think anything is fine. It's and it also, the title is official, but it's also it's the way they connect me. So if they are more comfortable with any certain title, I'm okay with that. It's I shouldn't say this, but it's just a title. So anything is fine. James would be just fine. Father James is, and I know like it's not, maybe for some people, maybe it's not familiar title. So whatever you feel like, then I'll be happy with that.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, whether it is without title or title, I'll just try to be the person for the person that will kind of match close to the expectation they put into that title or name or affection. Yeah. So that when they call me, there will be more than just calling the title or name.
Right.
James, before we wrap up, is there any questions that you have for Tyler or me or anything?
Yeah, I would like to hear more about, like, personally, like what do you want to see in your rector or in your priest, or what do you want to see as we get to know each other? Maybe it's too vague or a big question, but like what's your dream priest? Like,
I think Tyler, you mentioned that the profile did a good job of spelling out what the people in the parish are hoping for kind of in the big picture. And that's great because it has the input of quite a few people. I am looking forward to having a priest who can really put their all focus, energy, attention into St. Matthew. And while our last priest did a wonderful job and we loved him, he was working in 2 parishes, and that's hard. And I am excited to see what you do when you can focus on St. Matthew. And you talked about learning about what our strengths are and what we want to do and where we want to go, not just within St. Matthew's community, but also in the city of Abbotsford as well. So that's the big thing that comes to mind for me. What about you?
So I think that the Anglican take and approach to its liturgy and Eucharist and participation in the sacraments is I don't mean this hyperbolically. I think it's the best. The depth that it has, the historical connection to the church, the connection that it offers to the modern world, the way that it can bridge the gap between what people experience and in regular life, and then come to church and do the liturgy, and without even much work. Like, I for a period of my life, I was in the Pentecostal church and felt like, what I was being asked to participate in, if I didn't feel certain feelings or like to sing certain songs a certain way, like you couldn't have what people had. You couldn't have these, ecstatic experiences or whatever it was. But I've never felt that in the Anglican Church. I've always felt like you just come, and if you just listen to the words and think about them for a second, you can't help but they just keep uncovering layers of depth and ultimately experiencing the divine through that. And so what I am excited for in the new rector at St. Matthew's is for someone to come and take that very powerful expression of faith that's in the Anglican liturgy and just let it do its work. Because I think that's all that has to happen.
Yeah.
Like we just had Easter Sunday here, and we had a baptism service at it, and it was, you just read the words, and it
Liturgy speaks.
And it says everything that needs to be said. and then of course the way that you add in through a homily some explanation and some, the individual aspect of it, I find it so profound, and I'm looking forward to it. So there's no pressure, but but I don't think there is a lot of pressure, because I think
that's what I'm doing.
That's what you do, right? And so that's what I'm really excited for. And it's been over a year now since we've really had a dedicated priest. We had an interim priest for a period of time, and she helped us to do that too. But for someone to come along and to really do that with us, guide our parish in that every week, every season, and then on top of that to be our guide and guardian. I'm very excited for that.
Yes, I'm very excited for this new beginning, and I think you guys just touched the bones and flesh of what it means to be a Christian community. And I'm bringing my own excitement to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I hope, even now, this is our parish, but like as we grow further, as we bond together, reaching out to the world, I'm sure we will find the presence of God in us, and we will find, we are Saint Matthew, and this is Saint Matthew. So we will find who we are. Yeah. I mean, so all these things you mentioned and people put into the profile, I'm very sure and certain, and God will, just like doxology, God will give us more than we can ask or imagine.
Yes. Amen.
Well, James, I'm excited for everyone else to get to meet you, and hopefully watching this video in preparation for your start helps them to get to know you a little bit. But I think it'll be great once we all get to just see you in the flesh and hear from you and get to know you. So I think I can speak pretty confidently for all of the people at St. Matthew that we're just really, really excited to have you here and for you to start. And we're really looking forward to all of the things that you're going to bring to us, your vision, your mission, your talents, and how you are looking forward to working with us and helping us. So thank you for just being willing to go through the interview process with us, and take, like, even just looking at our parish profile, it was a big document, hey? And there was a lot of information to go through, and it's no small
really
feat.
well prepared. It was not just my opinion, but like people who read the profile also said, "Oh, this is really well prepared," and that was what I heard. And thank you for having me and helping me to introduce myself. And I'm really looking forward to seeing more people, everyone at the parish, and get to know. And I'm sure there will be times we feel maybe a bit challenged or disappointed, but maybe this is something I will kind of replay again, just to remind myself.
Sure.
This is what we were dreaming together.
Yeah.
So thanks everyone for tuning in to this episode of Pray Tell. If you have any questions for Father James or a topic that you'd like us to discuss in the future, please let us know. You can comment below the video and like the video and just get in touch with us that way. And we'd love to hear from you. And if you have other kombuchas or other cold drinks,
oh my gosh,
we were big.
That kombucha was so good.
It was really good. So yeah, we were really happy.
Who made it?
Whistler Elixir, I think, is the name of the company.
Whistler Elixir.
Yeah. They were very good. And they were purchased at Old Yale Brewing in Abbotsford.
And there's no alcohol in them.
Nope.
For those of you wondering. And that, unbelievable.
Yeah, very good.
Wow.
So yeah, if you have any recommendations like that for those things, please let us know. We'd love to try them. But otherwise, we're signing off for tonight. And again, thank you, James, for joining us. And we'll see you next time.